And up next, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has defended his government's new tax-rising budget, saying higher taxes on items from milkshakes to electric vehicles are designed to boost the economy. Finance Minister Rachel Reeves announced more than £26 billion in tax increases on top of £40 billion raised last year. Starmer stressed that the budget will also help lift hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty, describing child poverty as aberrant. However, the opposition Conservative Party could criticize the move, saying it took many money and years from workers to appease lawmakers. Analysts here note that much of the new spending will come in the next few years, while the bulk of the tax increases takes effect later, raising question about the government's commitment ahead of the local election next May. Local elections. Now, Labour polls have fallen below 20%, putting Starmer's future leadership under scrutiny. Listen in to what the British Prime Minister here said.
We made a number of commitments in our manifesto, which we have kept, but I accept that we are asking everybody to make a
You're telling it's an obligation.
Please hear me out. That we've asked everybody to make a contribution. And I'll tell your viewers precisely why that is. It's to make sure that we can properly protect our NHS, which needs to be there for them and their families when they need it. And everybody understands that. We want to make sure that we've got schools which are fit for the future so that every child can go as far as their talent would take them. And I absolutely wanted to bear down and reduce the cost of living, because for most of your viewers that'll be the single most important thing. And that's why yesterday I was able to announce, on top of the rail fare freezes we put in place, on top of the prescription freezes we put in place, that we would take £150 on average off energy bills for all households across the country. That'll be a huge relief as we go into winter for many, many people who are watching this. What we're doing is growing the economy. The forecast for the economy this time last year was that in 2025 it would grow by 1%. We said we want to defy that forecast. The numbers came in yesterday. It was 1.5%. So that's 50% over the forecast. That's the spirit in which we go forward from this budget. I'm optimistic about this country. I think by putting in the proper foundations, taking the fair and necessary decisions, we can defy all of the forecasts. We've already done it for 2025. I'm determined to do it for the years to come.
Up next, German Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier met Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez in Madrid during a state visit to Spain. Steinmeier said that Spain and Germany are close politically, economically and culturally. Sanchez thanked Steinmeier for his upcoming visit to Guernica, the town born by Nazis in 1937, describing it as a gesture of commitment, remembrance and democratic memory. Let's listen in to both the leaders.
Solche Gespräche sind wichtig. Vielleicht gar nicht so sehr wegen des Zustands der bilateralen Beziehungen. Sie haben es eben gesagt, Spanien und Deutschland sind sich politisch, wirtschaftlich, kulturell sehr eng. Wir sind auch durch menschliche Brücken miteinander verbunden. 200.000 Spanier, die in Deutschland leben, 100.000 Deutsche, die in Spanien leben.
Trataremos también, y quiero además agradecerlo expresamente, el compromiso que tenemos ambos gobiernos con lo que nosotros en España llamamos la memoria democrática, y quiero agradecer la visita que el presidente de la República Federal Alemana va a hacer a Guernica como un gesto de compromiso, de recuerdo y de memoria democrática.
And moving to Asia, where China has warned Japan it will face a painful price if it crosses the line over Taiwan. The statement comes after Japan announced plans to deploy missiles on an island near Taiwan. Chinese officials said that any action by Japan that threatens China's security could trigger serious consequences. Taiwan, however, rejects China's claims, emphasizing that only the island's people can decide their future. Experts warn that the region could see heightened tension if either side takes military action, making this a story with global implications. Listen to what China's Defense Ministry spokesperson Jiang Bin had to say.
中国政府已向日方提出严正交涉和强烈抗议。台湾是中国领土不可分割的一部分，以何种方式解决台湾问题，实现国家统一，完全是中国内政，不容任何外部势力干涉。中方强烈敦促日方反省自身在台湾问题上的历史罪责，恪守一个中国原则和中日4个政治文件精神， 停止挑衅越线，停止向台独分裂势力发出任何错误信号。
Additionally, China is reiterating its criticism of Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi over her recent comments on Taiwan, following reports that US President Donald Trump advised her not to provoke Beijing. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jikun said Tokyo's attempt to avoid downplay or avoid the issue was self-deception, insisting that Takaichi's remarks were seriously erroneous and unacceptable to China. Let's listen in to Guo Jikun's statement.
日领导人通话是美国和日本之间的事，我们不做评论。台湾问题是中国的内政，不容任何外部势力干涉。日本首相高市早苗错误言论，严重违背中日4个政治文件精神，破坏中日关系政治基础，引起中国人民强烈公愤。不再提及和撤回错误言论。 是两码事儿，性质完全不同。日方妄想通过不再提及、淡化搪塞、掩盖高市首相的严重错误言论，是掩耳盗铃、自说自话。中方绝不。
And moving on to news from Asia, a Bangladesh court has sentenced former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to 21 years in prison in 3 separate corruption cases linked to land allocations in a government housing project. The Dhaka Special Court judge issued the verdict today, stating that the 78-year-old former premier would serve 7 years in each case and that these sentences would run consecutively. In addition to the prison terms, the court has imposed a fine of $820 in each case, with Hasina facing an extra 18 months in jail if the payment is not made. Today's corruption verdict comes shortly after a separate and far more severe ruling that came on the 17th of November, where the International Crimes Tribunal sentenced Hasina to death after finding her guilty of ordering a crackdown on a student-led uprising that unfolded between July and August last year. Listen in now to the statement given by a public prosecutor after the court announced its verdict today.
এবং উনি এই 3টি মামলাই আসামি হিসাবে আছেন। ওনার সাজা হচ্ছে 7 বছর করে 3 সাতা 21 বছর এবং ওনার জরিমানা হচ্ছে 3 লক্ষ টাকা, 1 লক্ষ টাকা করে 3 লক্ষ টাকা, অনাদায়ে 18 মাস বিনা শ্রম কারাদণ্ড।
And moving on, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced that India's nuclear sector will be open to private firms. The move is part of a broader plan to increase nuclear power capacity from 8 gigawatts today to 100 gigawatts by 2047. A bill to amend the 1962 Atomic Energy Act is headed to Parliament's winter session starting December 1. Allowing private companies to take part in power generation, Modi called the move a step toward energy security and global technology leadership. Details on ownership structures and foreign investment rules are still emerging, but the plan reflects India's ambition to match leading countries like the United States in clean nuclear energy. Let's listen into the Indian Prime Minister's announcement.
बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सेक्टर में भी कदम उठाने जा रहे हैं। हम न्यूक्लियर सेक्टर को भी ओपन करने की तरफ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। इस सेक्टर में भी हम प्राइवेट सेक्टर की सशक्त भूमिका की नींव रखने जा रहे हैं। इससे स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर, एडवांस रिएक्टर्स और न्यूक्लियर इनोवेशन में अवसर बनेंगे। यह रिफॉर्म हमारी एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी और टेक्नोलॉजिकल लीडरशिप को नई शक्ति देगा।
And moving on,